and I are airborne for Istanbul, the 13-hour flight allowing research on the tourist sites, history, and politics of Turkey. Turkey goes back to Noah's Ark. Mount Ararat rises over this storied land. Digging at Göbekli Tepe revealed a Neolithic temple 11,000 years old. Civilizations on the central Anatolian plain have worshipped the mother goddess, Hittite bulls, full-figured Artemis. Assyrians brought writing. To the west in Byzantium, after the Roman Empire split in 305 AD, Constantine founded Constantinople, capital of the Eastern Christian Byzantine Empire. The empire reached zenith under Justinian I and his wife Theodora in the 6th century. Arab invaders introduced Islam. The Turks came storming out of Central Asia. Osman I put the Ottoman dynasty on the move in 1299, supplanting the more religiously tolerant Seljuk Turks. Christian Constantinople fell in 1453 to Sultan Mehmet II, Mehmet the Conqueror. Suleiman the Magnificent of the 16th century upgraded a Ukrainian Christian redhead named Roxolana from slave to empress, going on to extend the Ottoman Empire magnificently. In 1683, the militant Mehmet IV advanced toward Western Europe. The Turks were stopped at Vienna, preserving Christianity. By 1914, when Mehmet V took the empire into World War I alliance with Kaiser Wilhelm and Franz Josef, his shrinking, corrupt realm was known as the sick man of Europe. The Ottomans doubted the loyalty of Armenian Christian subjects. They pushed the Armenians into desert deportation marches. 1.5 million Armenians died. Turkey denies it was a systematic, official genocide. Under General Mustafa Kemal, defeated Turkey freed itself from Allied occupiers in the War of Independence, dumping Mehmet VI and the 624-year Ottoman dynasty. Kemal established the Republic of Turkey in 1923, taking the name Ataturk, Father of the Turks. Neutral in World War II, Turkey fought alongside the U.S. in Korea. Here's Marilyn Monroe boosting morale, and in Vietnam. Trouble with the minority Kurds was brewing in the southeast. In 1984, Peshmerga fighters of the separatist PKK, the Kurdish Workers' Party, began attacks that Ankara denounces as terrorism. PKK leader Abdullah Öcalan was captured in 1999, imprisoned on lonely Imrali Island, but sporadic violence continues. Since 2003, the long secular Republic of Turkey, Texas-sized with a youthful population of 83 million, has been led by Recep Tayyip Erdogan, an Islamist authoritarian with visions of leading the Muslim world. The 68-year-old Erdogan has amassed absolute power. Capitalizing on a July 2016 military coup attempt, which Erdogan blames on cleric and one-time governing partner Fethullah Gulen, Erdogan cashiered thousands of officers. The regime arrested hundreds of thousands of people, grabbing control of the press and the courts. The U.S. is refusing Erdogan's demands to extradite Gulen from Pennsylvania. He denies any role in the failed coup. Erdogan has annoyed Russian President Vladimir Putin, who supplies half of Turkey's natural gas, by selling tank-busting Bayraktar drones to Ukraine. The weapons are made by Erdogan's son-in-law. At the same time, Erdogan has objected to NATO membership for Sweden and Finland over their support for the Kurds. The U.S. sanctioned NATO ally Turkey for buying a Russian S-400 air defense system. Erdogan faces re-election in 2023. Many Americans are familiar with Turkish-American celebrities like recording executive Ahmet Ertegun and TV doctor-turned-politician Mehmet Oz. Some may know the Istanbul novels of Nobel Prize winner Orhan Pamuk, but others may retain less positive images from the 1978 film Midnight Express, convicted American hashish smuggler Billy Hayes' story of escape from a brutal Turkish prison. Oliver Stone won an Oscar for the damaging screenplay, but on a visit to Turkey he apologized, saying he had over-dramatized. Touching down at Istanbul's tight security new airport, we prepare for an intensive 2,200-mile bus tour, a major loop of Asia Minor. Namık Ilksoy, tour manager for Gate 1 Travel. Experienced and highly educated, married to an American woman from Chicago, Namık had a university math professor named Tansu Çiller, who became Prime Minister of Turkey.
What kind of preconceptions do Americans bring to Turkey in your experience?
I started 35 years ago, and at least the first 15, 20 years, they came here, and the first question that they ask is, have I seen Midnight Express, the movie? You know, the movie where the kid is smuggling drugs and then he was tortured in the prison. And then most of them said when they land, oh, when can we see the deserts, and do you have camels? But no, they're pretty good. They have a pretty good understanding of my country, and the history, the hospitality, and the food.
First of our 7 hotels, the Old Line Legacy Ottoman in the heart of the Old City. The hotel overlooks the Bosporus Strait, dividing Europe from Asia and making Istanbul the world's only city on 2 continents. The strategically vital 19-mile waterway connects the Black Sea to the Mediterranean via the Sea of Marmara and the narrow Dardanelles. A big change may be coming. Erdogan has broken ground for the controversial Istanbul Canal, a 28-mile Bosporus bypass that would bring Turkey new toll fees from shipping.
Today we are adding a new step to the path of progress for our country.
Environmental groups fear ecological damage. Turning Istanbul into an island cut off from Europe, the mega project would cost up to $60 billion. Awaiting the tour's first dinner meeting, I embark on a walk to collect impressions. First is mosques. My first, cats. Istanbul is famed for its million strays, well fed and cared for. The Prophet Muhammad, you see, loved cats. Glee resident Kitty at Hagia Sophia greeted President Obama and Erdogan on a 2009 state visit. First landmark I note, the Galata Tower, built in 1348 as a fortress by Genoese who controlled trade on the Bosporus arm called the Golden Horn. Over here, Topkapi Palace, home to 23 of the 36 Ottoman sultans. The Galata Bridge, crossing the Golden Horn to the new city, is a favorite with fishermen. A special sight for me, the ferry to Üsküdar, over in Asia. A one-time suburb, now part of Istanbul, Üsküdar was the subject of a sexy folk song that I've been singing ever since Eartha Kitt's 1953 novelty hit.
Üsküdar giderken aldı da bir yağmur. Üsküdar giderken aldı da bir yağmur. Kent behem bin kati ben el karjo. Kent behem bin kati ben el karjo.
Günaydın. Can we have our headsets on?
With a send-off from the Hotel Kitty, our group of 35 diverse Americans sets off on a neighborhood walk. Passing the new mosque, only 400 years old, Namik shows us the smaller Rustem Pasha Mosque. A 16th century gem, the Rustem is one of 300 mosques designed by the renowned architect Mimar Sinan. Irma finds the blue tile work remarkable. Steps away the Spice Bazaar, with countless well-kept shops, many displaying varieties of sweet lokum, Turkish delight. On the bus we go by the iconic Blue Mosque, dating from 1617. The French gave the hue of its 20,000 blue tiles a new name, turquoise, or Turkish. We pronounce the color as turquoise. Too bad the mosque is closed for renovations. Instead, we disembark at Topkapi. Opened in 1730, the palace preserves a Byzantine church, St. Irene's.
With a flag, or a scarf, or pashmina.
It was good to be the Sultan, with multiple wives and unlimited concubines, a polite word for trafficked sex slaves. One sultan exploited 960 slave women. It was not so good to be a prince. Competitors for the throne were routinely assassinated in centuries of fratricidal palace intrigues. Star of Topkapi's treasury, a ceremonial dagger set with enormous emeralds. It was one target in a 1964 Hollywood heist movie. Hagia Sophia, imposing symbol of Istanbul. Justinian built St. Sophia as Eastern Christianity's main cathedral, as the few remaining 10th century golden mosaics still testify. The Ottomans covered other mosaics when they converted the immense basilica into a mosque, installing calligraphy with the name of Allah. Islam bans human imagery. The secular Turkish Republic turned the mosque into a museum. Erdogan has turned it back into a mosque as he works to Islamicize society. Tourists still are admitted between prayers. After a walk to lunch, the Turkish and Islamic Arts Museum.
A little bit of calligraphy.
Strolling back to the hotel, I wonder, are things prosperous on the Bosporus? Well, not very. In 2022, an independent think tank reports unemployment at 40%, year-to-year inflation running 156%. Foreign reserves and the lira currency are shrinking, public debt rising. Most workers earn the minimum salary, $300 a month. Subsidies for 5 million refugees, most from Syria, stir social tensions. But there's a good pension system, and Erdogan gets credit for improving health care. Oh, here's the Sirkeci station where the Orient Express used to chug in from Paris. It runs rarely in the age of bullet trains. The driving begins. Our Turkish-built Mercedes bus ready to go, expert driver Ahmet waiting at the wheel. Leaving Istanbul on Turkey's fine highways, we veer southwest for the Gallipoli Peninsula. Gasoline, $6 a gallon as we drive in May 2022. We pass Silivri Prison, where Erdogan is jailing reporters and military officers. The startling sight of an Airbus converted to a roadside meatball restaurant. A freighter on the Dardanelles. Eventually, Anzac Cove, a major battlefield of the bloody 1915 Gallipoli campaign. First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, had the idea. Force the Dardanelles with a line of warships and steam up to Istanbul, leveling guns at the Sultan to knock Turkey out of the war and open a back door to Germany. It went badly. Turkish mines and artillery sank the dreadnoughts. The Navy retreated. Amphibious army landings were ordered to clear the passage. crack Turkish troops held the high ground, 3 divisions led by the resourceful Mustafa Kemal. 9 months of suicidal Allied attacks from miserable trenches, appalling carnage. 73,000 Allied soldiers killed or wounded. Anzacs from Australia and New Zealand. British, Irish, French, Indians. On the Ottoman side, 250,000 casualties. The Allies slunk away. Churchill was fired. To the mothers of the Allied dead, President Ataturk in 1934 wrote a comforting message. Your sons are now lying in our bosom and are in peace. After having lost their lives on this land, they have become our sons as well. For our group, peace means lunch at a Gallipoli fish restaurant, where a ferry still takes cars across the Dardanelles, although the graceful 1915 Çanakkale Bridge opened in March 2022. Heinrich Schliemann of Germany was convinced that the misty Troy of Homer's Iliad had actually existed. In 1876, he found it. By now we know that the strategic site at the mouth of the Dardanelles has layers of ancient settlement from before the 1200 BC Trojan War through Roman times. The dusty ruins of Ilium are a top draw for fans of Helen, Achilles, Odysseus, Zeus, Hera, and the rest of Homer's cast. Some scholars think the Trojans who fought the Achaean Greeks were Greeks themselves. Turkey is reluctant to accept this, but we do know that the Trojans were not Turks. The Turks did not arrive in these parts for another 22 centuries. A drive to the farm town of Bergama, where an ebullient restaurant owner proudly exhibits his musical powers. Our hilltop goal, the Asclepion, a hospital in ancient Pergamum, once powerful capital of the Roman province of Asia Minor. The 2nd century AD physician Galen was chief of medicine here in the golden era of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. For entertainment, lacking TV in the patients' rooms, the hospital had a big theater. We continue down the Aegean coast to Izmir, the ancient Smyrna. Turkey's 3rd largest city and a major port, Izmir gets shortchanged by the conservative national government because it's a liberal, party-loving place. It's festival time, a 5-day holiday celebrating the end of the daytime fasting month of Ramadan. The nighttime din, therefore, is non-stop. Near Ephesus, the house of the Virgin Mary beckons the faithful. Legend has it that the mother of Jesus came to the area with St. John, passing her last days in this little stone house. Visited by 3 popes, this is a place of Christian reverence in Muslim Turkey. Believers stuff written prayers into a wall.
I asked for an end to the invasion of Ukraine and peace in that area. I asked for a better distribution of food in the world. There is a lot of food, but there's a lot of hungry people. Food and hunger in the world. And basically for all of us to get along better together with each other.
Unfortunately, Turkey has the same disease that the rest of the world has. We're polarized, and I hope the tone of people will change so that we can go back pre-2000. We were living in harmony together. Now it seems as if we're getting so far apart from one another, polarized. I don't want to say hate, but people having hard time to talk to each other the moment that they realize, oh, I'm a secular, no, I'm a conservative. So I think that...
Viewing the spectacular Library of Celsus, you understand why St. Paul gushed, "Is there a greater city than Ephesus?" Best preserved Greco-Roman city of the Eastern Mediterranean, Ephesus starts for tourists with a 1-mile downhill walk, the route of religious processions, to the 2-story library that held 12,000 scrolls for readers. Ephesus has sights enough for any lover of antiquity, from communal toilets to one of the largest outdoor theaters of the ancient world. Carved from Mount Pion over 60 years, the theater could seat 40,000 spectators. Leaving Izmir, observing solar water heaters on apartment roofs and strawberries under sunshades. Some naked sheep in the fields after shearing are a bit distracting. We are bound for Pamukkale, an old Hierapolis, a Roman spa town. Volcanic hot springs allegedly have been curing rheumatism for millennia. Spring waters have crystallized into dramatic white travertine cliffs. Visitors remove their shoes to protect the slippery white stone before wading warily in the water. We hike to a well-preserved theater. Antalya, an upscale international resort city on the Mediterranean, site of a 2016 World Expo that failed because of a military incident with Russia, not to mention the violent July 15th coup attempt. Skipping the beach, we trek to the local museum. It offers an impressive collection of Greek and Roman statuary and sarcophagi. One was breached by robbers eons ago, a second memorializes a loving couple, and a third the love of a dog. Though it's getting hard to remember one ruin from another, more are on the itinerary. Perge, where tourist jetliners climbing out from Antalya Airport roar over Roman baths. We get an explanation of the hot and cold water plumbing at one of these baths. The stadium, too narrow for chariot racing, just right for gladiator battles and old-fashioned track meets.
He used them in the battle, and then he said, okay, you can...
Down the road, Aspendos. Its restored theater has hosted Elton John and Sting concerts. Bring a pillow. Lunch at a roadside gözleme joint. These snacks are sort of Turkish quesadillas with a variety of vegan ingredients. Not far off, a Roman aqueduct on the way back to the deluxe Accra Hotel in Antalya to chill in the welcome sunshine. Time to enjoy Antalya's mountainous bay setting.
Taking swimming lessons.
The longest day, 7 hours of bus travel with few diversions. We leave the coastal plain, grinding northward through the Taurus Mountains toward the 3,000-foot-high Anatolian Plateau. We take a break at the Sultanhani Caravanserai, dating from the pre-Ottoman Seljuk Turks. Silk Road traders overnighted here with their camels. Marco Polo may well have passed through, rating the handsome inn 5 humps on the medieval version of TripAdvisor. Destination, the region of Cappadocia, which bills itself as the land of beautiful horses. The area is currently known for balloon rides over a tortured landscape created by extinct volcanoes, eroding into stone towers called fairy chimneys. There's no place like it. Our hotel is the Dinler in Urgup. The room overlooks caves bored into the twisted tufa. Happily, we end the day with the whirling dervishes. Sufi followers of the 13th century poet Rumi, dervishes revolve to attain union with the divine. Waking at 4 a.m. for a sunrise balloon ride, we are frustrated when high winds scrub it. Hoping tomorrow will be better, we view the fairy chimneys from the ground. Maybe I need a Freudian analyst, but I'd hate to tell you what they look like. Luckily, we run into stonemason Adnan Özgelik and his wife Makbule. They invite us to their cave home in the town of Urchisan, not Bedrock. People have been tenanting these murky caves since at least 333 BC. Our hosts have lived in this 2,000 square foot flintstone dwelling for 33 years. The family controls 2 cave homes, renting one out. My least favorite part of any escorted tour, so-called demonstrations of Turkish double knot weaving at a slick rug store, followed by ostensible demonstrations of ceramics making at a pottery emporium. It's really about flogging overpriced merchandise to captive tourists. Still, some of us do try to haggle for an unlikely bargain, while I fight off the persistent salesman. In Göreme, principal town of the balloon capital valley, a group shot, then lunch. An open-air museum, 365 early Christian churches carved into the stone, one for each day in the year. The fading wall paintings date from the 11th and 12th centuries. Iconoclasts destroyed everything before that. Another attraction in Cappadocia, one of Turkey's hundreds of underground cities, resorted to by terrified Christians during Roman persecutions from Nero to Constantine. At last, the promised dawn launch for a glide over the fairy chimneys. An Anzac couple started the rides here in 1991. Now balloon companies stuff 20 tourists per basket onto 100 flights a day. The travel industry advertises blue, sunny skies. Our ride is overcast and near freezing, but in my 5 layers the experience is fascinating, soaring with little sense of motion, up to 3,000 feet, powered by propane and air. The able pilot sets us down right on the company's flatbed trailer, and we celebrate our bold Turkish adventure, actually quite safe.
Lower than you.
On a tight schedule, if we want to make it up to Ankara for the day, we note along the way that many city and suburban Turks live in appealing apartment buildings. When Ataturk relocated Turkey's capital to Ankara, it was a sleepy village known for fluffy Angora cats. Now it's a 21st century metropolis of 5 million, the nation's second city. Near the Turkish Pentagon, the Ataturk Mausoleum. Here, Turkey honors her great 20th century soldier, statesman, and reformer. Ataturk separated mosque and state. He made the veil optional for women. He scrapped the fezzes and the pashas. He switched the Turkish alphabet from Arabic to Western. He ordered Turks to take last names, reserving Ataturk for himself. Ataturk died in 1938 at only 57. Today, Erdogan is working to weaken Ataturk's secular and democratic values, but the founder himself remains politically sacrosanct.
Modern Turkey, which is founded by Ataturk, is a living proof that a democratic country that is predominantly Muslim, as we said, 99% Muslim, can happen. I mean, it can live with the Western values, human rights, freedom of speech. It can happen, and we gave an example of it for 7 decades.
Our final museum, perhaps the best, the Museum of Anatolian Civilizations, recording the rise and fall of local peoples since the Stone Age, Hittites, Lycians, Lydians. The skull belongs to the king of Phrygia, 700 BC.
He's the man with the Midas touch.
President Erdogan has built a grandiose Ankara headquarters for his Justice and Development Party, the AKP, and a stupendous presidential palace complex complete with private mosque.
The official private mosque will be here. Thank you, Ahmed.
Closing the loop, the last 284-mile leg to Istanbul. Once there, we file onto an excursion liner for a Bosporus cruise. Naturally, the prime shoreline real estate has been dominated since Ottoman times by the palaces, yachts, and mansions of the elite.
I mean, the family is in Ankara, and I mean, they don't live here permanent. I mean, all year round. Every now and then they come, but these sort of families keep it as an investment.
Fishermen find a few square meters of public access, but except for nightclubs and restaurants, it's hard otherwise to get close to the water. At the strait's narrowest point, historic Rumeli Hisari, Mehmet the Conqueror erected the fortress in 1452, its siege cannons breaching the walls of Constantinople until the city fell to Islam. Docking across from the Galata Tower, we bust through traffic jams to Istanbul's Grand Bazaar. I expect a funky old souk like the one in Marrakesh, but this one is too classy for me. A labyrinth of brightly lit bling stores. So I flee to the street, observing working-class fruit stands and a store displaying the evil eye. At our last hotel, the farewell dinner.
Well played. Oh, now we're this is.
It's time for a blowout with a local singer and ourselves for entertainment.
Ben söylerken gülmedin mi? Other dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Una poca de gracia pa' mi party, ay arriba, ay arriba, bamba, 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 bamba. How could you forget like it was you?
Üsküdar'a giderken bir mendil buldum. Üsküdar'a giderken bir mendil buldum. Mendilimin içine de lokum doldurdum. Mendilimin içine de lokum doldurdum.
Go where the slave, go my dream. You are great, go!
Leaving Istanbul, I could have used an extra day in the city. I wish the tour had included the great Süleymaniye Mosque, Sinan's masterpiece. Also main drag Istiklal Street and central Taksim Square, where riots are apt to break out. I have few regrets about missing the Saudi consulate, where journalist Jamal Khashoggi was murdered in 2018. I think about returning to Turkey someday, lured by distant mystical Göbekli Tepe. Meanwhile, I asked Namık what lessons he would like Americans to take away from Turkey.
But this is the land of the peace, and people had managed to live here. I mean, the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, these people lived in harmony under the country called the Ottoman Empire for 500 years, or almost 6 centuries. I think we should be able to learn, or we can learn a lot from them, and hopefully change our way of living at the moment. I think that's what I want them to go back to, it, that it can happen.
Turkey, uneasily yawing between East and West, gives the American traveler a lot to think about. A society as divided as our own, the issues between our governments. But what we mainly take away, after a mostly standard tour of the standard sites, is a sense of the people. Hopeful, hard-working, inviting the world back to hospitable, surprising Turkey.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, old Constantinople, still it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. Take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works?